So let's share something what I learned, during this experience, like open a digital bank in an industry that's very traditional, so how that works. But to do that, I need to put something on perspective, what I like to do, an awake. So everybody knows Uber here, right? You guys know that Uber in San Francisco, it's a market that Uber is more sophisticated. Their revenue is 3 times more than the whole taxi and limo industry. And if I go to São Paulo, it's the second biggest market of Uber in the world. My question is, if you're going to go to a university, it takes how long to finish university? Like 4 years? 5 years? So you guys have Uber here in Copenhagen? Not now. But when Uber started here, is how years ago? 2? In São Paulo, it started 2 years ago, and it's the second biggest market. It means that if I need to do a university to be a taxi driver, on the middle of the university, everything that I learned is not going to work because it's a different thing. And imagine that's happening in all things, not only on taxis. It starts on the lower part, but then it's starting growing and growing and growing. So it means that what you're going to learn in the university is not what you are going to use in your real life. If I pick it up, Airbnb. You have Airbnb here? For how long? 2 years? 3 years? Again, so if I want to be on the hotel industry, I'm going to spend 5 years doing what? And if I see that, like with a 25 billion revenue, 25 billion market cap, it's bigger than Hilton with 21. But remember, Airbnb is going to do their IPO, and that's going to be 60 billion. It's going to be 3 Hiltons. Not bigger than, it's going to be 3 times bigger than Hilton. So again, Airbnb. If I see WhatsApp was sold to Facebook for $22 billion, if I go to Brazil and pick it up like a very traditional company with 100,000 employees with BR Foods, they worth half of that. They have 50% of the food, and worth half of WhatsApp. WhatsApp, 40 people. BR Foods, 100,000 people. You want to be one of the 40 or one of the 100,000? And that comes to the conflict between the Industrial Revolution and the Digital Revolution. So if you think as an Industrial Revolution, we have problems. And Snapchat is new, right? Snapchat, after the IPO, worth more than American Airlines, with all the jets, with all the planes, with everything. So Snapchat, worth more than American Airlines. So that's the kind of thing that's happening. So the world is moving too fast. The thing is, who knows what kind of championship is that? That's a League of Legends championship. The audience of League of Legends was bigger than the finals of the NBA in the US. In Brazil, they was full in the football stadium, and don't have more people, so they fill up another 40 movie theaters. Who knows that? Who knows these guys, how they work, how they think? So if you don't know how they think, the business that we're creating here, you're going to have some bias, because what are you going to do? This guy is going to buy your product? If you don't know how they work, how they think, how they spend their money, how they use. So, and then it comes to new business models. And then I like to remember, I think what Michael Porter did here is quite interesting, which his strategy is about making choices, trade-offs, and being different. So, who remember BlackBerry here? What happens with BlackBerry when the iPhone was launched? And you know what's funny? Why was not BlackBerry who built the iPhone? Well, he has a lot of revenue coming from, he was the leader. Why is that? And everybody here knows that iPhone is coming, because we have the iPod first, we have iTunes after, and everybody's saying, so we just need a phone here. Well, first thing, the telco industry, all the analysts was not looking to a different industry, which is not telco, it's computers. So they are not there. They was not on the reports. The MBAs was not looking to that, because they're reading the reports of the industry, not from another industry. Second thing, they're making a lot of revenue. Why to bother that? That's not going to happen with me. I have keyboard. Nobody's I'm gonna be the best in keyboard. And you know what's the worst? One of the guys at the BlackBerry, they said, let's took out the BBM inside BlackBerry and put BBM to be a standalone company at that time. And you know what happened with this guy? He was fired by the CEO. So if you took out BlackBerry, the BBM, and put it outside, WhatsApp is $22 billion, and WhatsApp is only on emerging markets. BBM in all of the world is going to worth $70 billion. That's the decision that the CEO should have done at that time. But it's very hard to do a decision. You know why? The technology is coming. When you go 1, 2, 3 waves and you don't follow, it's magic. So how is it going to take a decision on that? How are you going to take a decision in magic? And that's happening. That's happening everywhere, everywhere. So all the digital companies are monopolies, because if they're not a monopoly, they're going to die because they need to grow fast. And if you see Genghis Khan, the Mughal Empire, like they own 22% of the world in 100 in this time. And he has like a good thing. He says, don't follow the rules. Create the rules and impose them on the battlefield. Right? The thing is, like Uber asked to come to Denmark. Uber is following the rules of the taxis. In Brazil, they send like an email to the mayor, asking about all the benefits. The mayor didn't answer. They printed the email in the newspaper. So he's not following the taxi rules. He's creating his own rules and impose them on the battlefield. And that's happened with all the digital, arena. If I pick up each digital company, all of them is doing that. And like it or not, Uber worth more than Honda, GM, Ford Motors, Nissan, Hyundai. So it's a phenomenon of like we said, 2 years, right? And what's the beauty of all of that? Uber, it's a disruption not in technology. It's a disruption in service design. Service design, it's a new thing from this, from 21st century, not from the 20th century. Because the Industrial Revolution is all about creating more products and more products. I need to create like 1 billion shoes. Not the best shoe, So that's how that started. But then comes the technology disruption that's coming. And that's a different thing. So they have like a number which is quite interesting, that in the University of Columbia, they made a calculation that 9,000 autonomous cars could substitute 150,000 taxis. 9,000 substitute 150,000 taxis. And you know what? They will be in 3 minutes in any part of Manhattan, and it's going to cost 1/4 of the price. In other words, Uber, which is a new company, digital, or they're going to transform themselves, or in 2020, they're not going to exist. Look how fast the things are going. And then if I pick it up, the laws that's, in California right now is quite interesting, because the law says, no, you can have an autonomous car here, but we need the wheel. And then Google came and said, why you need a wheel? It's an autonomous car. And you know why they're discussing on the law the wheel? It's not because it's safe or not. They're going to say, hey, we're going to need a human to pick up the car, so we need a wheel. But it's autonomous, so it's quite weird. But no, the wheel is, if in 2020, if you have the wheel, Uber is going to be in a good position to explore the autonomous car industry because they have people there. If it's not a wheel, Google will be in front of that. So all this fight is not about the wheel. All this fight is about who's going to be in front in 2020 from this market. So we're discussing about Uber, for example, but on the end, it's not going to exist in 5 years, this kind of job. So, and then I'm going to come to regulation. I like to speak about regulations because, so if I go in Brazil, for example, and I have an autonomous car, the autonomous car is going, then we have a kid that gets in front of the car. The computer realized that the kid is there, could not, brake. Or he passed through the kid or goes to the left and go to the river. What decision is going to do? Well, if I go in Brazil, if the car decided to pass through the kid, it's a crime. But they saw that the kid was there and had the option to go, to the right or to the left. So that's a bigger crime. So that you need to arrest the car, the owner, or whatever who is doing that. So what decision we should take? The computer decision should take. Kill the kid, go to the river. What do? You are the CEO of the company, you should decide now. That's a new world, Mercedes decided, kill the kid. And that's a kind of decision that you should take on the digital world. You don't have option. Or you are saying that we're not going to have autonomous cars. We're going to have that, for sure, believe me. And then when you go to the financial industry, you have some forces that's changing everything. Fintechs is one, mobile, being agile, platforms. And then if you go deeper, you go to blockchain and AI. When you get all of that, I can tell you for sure that in 5 years, all the money that exists on the financial industry will change hands. We could participate in that, or we're going to just observe. That's the thing, but we'll change hands. And this force is going to show a little bit. So if I get here, the website of Wells Fargo, all the fintechs around, trying to disrupt each part of their business. In other hand, if you go to 7-Eleven, you buy like the hazelnut cream of 7-Eleven, or you buy Nutella. So if you buy a Nutella, you understand that these startups are multidisciplinary teams. They're using the latest technology, that they are agile, they don't have bias, and they're creating the Nutellas. They're creating the Nespressos. A bank could not have, a supermarket could not have all the brands and be better in everything. So this model don't work anymore. That's US. That's Europe. That's Brazil. I helped the first graphic to be made 3 years ago, 8 companies. Look in Brazil right now. That's all the fintechs there. We had the opportunity to create the first digital bank there. For all the banks, that was impossible. And you know what is going to happen soon? If you go to the bank, and the guy from the bank said, you cannot get in, or it's too long lines, or you cannot use your cell phone. You look to the guy, pick up your phone, see the app of the bank, and press that, and delete it. And then you download a new bank. In Brazil, now you can open the bank account to the mobile. The central bank said, yes, you can open, but you need to close. So just a question, of details for that to become mainstream. And if that became mainstream, you need to update your website and your app every week, every month. If you don't do that, your client is going to be saying, that's old, that don't work. Or everybody knows the iPhone here, right? What happens if Apple decide not to upgrade iPhone every year? That's what's going to happen with the bank if they don't upgrade that every week. That's the thing. And then, so I cannot be bank-centric anymore. Profits and everything, industrial revolution, forgot the client. I need to be client-centric. If I'm not client-centric, I don't have a business. And that's it. Simple as that. Right? And then let's go to the evolution of banks. We have the first evolution. The branch, like 300 years ago, was quite a good thing. I could put my money there, and nobody's going to go to my house to steal my money. It's good. Took 300 years to be able to do the banking in my house in the office using internet banking. Then it took another 7 years to be able to use the bank everywhere. I could pay my bills, like without sitting up. I just take the picture and get my bills. Now we're coming to a part, that's the project that I work at, that the bank is going to be everywhere. It's agnostic, it's not website, it's not app, it's financial service on the spot. I'm going to show a little bit some examples of that. And then came blockchain, and everything that I tell you guys, forget it. It's going to be everything new again. Remember Uber? They created like a big disruption, and then came Google with autonomous cars and blah. That's the same thing, more or less, right? If I see what Banco Original, what we did, we created like the open banking platform. So we took out APIs of the bank and delivered that to everybody. to create. So we create different things. Like, for example, you can put the bank on the card. Actually, I'm working with Samsung on that. We have like a screen, that how the bank is going to work on the refrigerator. We have with Ford Motors, the bank inside the car. So we're driving and say, what's my balance? Could you transfer $100 to my mom? And it's working already, and it's going to be embedded in the car. We create a way for you to open your bank account, on the mobile, take the pictures, documentation, and everything, and our algorithms behind all of that is doing all the check and connecting to the clouds and doing all the verification of that. That became much better than a human being. If I get two other examples, what we did, for example, we put the bank inside Instagram. So if you go to Instagram, it goes up, they're going to ask you, to put your login and password of the bank. They ask you once, and then you have the whole week that you don't need to do that, and then you can see your balance and statement. If you go to Facebook, you create a bot that you can, start a conversation with the bank, you can see your balance, you can make it transfers, and if the bot realizes that you were having difficulty with that, they automatically call a person who gets inside the bot. And it's good because when you go to a call center, one person can attend one person. On the bot, one person can attend four people at the same time. So you can optimize that. And you can see, like, after the login, like in 4 seconds, your balance and all your statement of the year. Who can see here all the statement of the year in less than 5 minutes? I'm speaking about 5 seconds. So that's an example of the power of platform, when you create platforms on that. And let's see the threat, how big it is. What Starbucks sells? Sells what? Coffee, right? Coffee for experience. It's an expensive coffee, which is good. What's the second product that makes more money on Starbucks? Actually, that's a little bit old. Like they put like $1.3 billion per quarter on their prepaid card, right? Now what they're doing, they're saying, okay, use my app, which was one of the best apps ever. You put your card there, and you are going to be able to buy your Frappuccino without being in the line. So how much money do you think they're going to get here for the quarter? 2.5, 3 billion. And you know what? The user took like 3 months to spend this money. And 13% keep some money there. It's a lot of money. It's banking. They're in banking. And then I make you a question for you guys. You think it's going to take too much time for you to accept, the Starbucks card in another place that is not a Starbucks? That's McDonald's. That's another place. So if that happens, we're going to have an app with a card, extremely intelligent, And how many branches Starbucks has that they could issue the card for you? And the thing is, the Starbucks branch is good. The Starbucks branch offers you a good coffee. They allow you to use your cell phone. They have Wi-Fi. How are you going to compete? And you can issue this card in all of the world. So one of the service of a bank could be disrupted by a cafeteria. And you cannot compete with that. So that's the mindset. Who knows WeChat here? It's good, we have some people. WeChat is like WhatsApp, the messenger in China. So I'm going to show you an example of what happened with WeChat. WeChat belongs to a company called Tencent, the biggest company in China, internet company in China. And Pony Ma, the CEO, he decided to get 10 cents from each Chinese. That's the mission. That's why the company calls 10 cent. And in other words, he wanted to do like micropayments, right? So how am I going to do micropayments? He started to understand their users, what they do, and they saw that instead of putting pictures, they have the avatars. Let's figure out a way to put your credit card and buy avatars. And then he understand that people like games. Who played Candy Crush here? How much money you spend? 0. Come on. The people spend like $3 million per day buying that on Candy Crush per day. So quite a good business. So WeChat decided doing that. Let's put 10 games here, to start, and let's do the following. Okay, Candy Crush, you can put your game here, but I'm going to sell, the lives, right? 50%, for you, 50% for me. Revenue, $3 billion on the first quarter as WeChat Games takes off. And they like this kind of thing that Starbucks is doing. Let's do that for Starbucks, but not only for Starbucks, for everybody. That's a bank. Let's start doing payments. Let's use our QR code and doing payments. This is a bank. And then, as I'm doing payments, let's send a push notification and say, hey, why don't you save like $5, $1, $10 per month? I'm going to pick up from your credit card and put like in a savings account for you, and then on the end of the year, you could, travel or do something or buy a bike, whatever. He did that together with a bank, say 6.4%, They took 130 million in deposits on the first day. This is a bank? That project that took 1 year to do, that start doing, it took 1 year, 1 year, and it's getting there. After 1 year, the investment fund has 10 million users and 16 billion banked inside WeChat. A bank with 10 million users is a good bank? What happens if you have 10 million users doing banking? What do? You open the first private bank in China. The question is, how are you going to compete with these guys? They have a building of PhDs. Not one PhD, 2, 3. They have a building. They have a university just around that, just to provide people for them. How do you compete with that? It's funny because in Brazil they try to buy WhatsApp, and WhatsApp is extremely popular there. But on the end of the deal, Mark Zuckerberg, they took the deal out of Tencent. If they had bought WhatsApp at that time 7 years ago, today in Brazil, we're not going to see these top 5 banks anymore. They're going to be struggling. You're going to see on the news all the struggle that the financial industry in Brazil is going to be happening. So all of that happens because one thing, the Industrial Revolution was quite good, That's why we're here. But you pick up all of that and put it here, and said, yeah, let's do the same thing, Let's give you one example. Imagine a shoemaker, the best guy ever in the Middle Ages. You want a shoe, you go there. You said, okay, I want the best shoe ever. He understands your feet and all of that, and say, okay, in 2 weeks I deliver you the shoe. It's $100. Okay. After 2 weeks, you go there, pick up the shoes, and go out, and everybody say, hey, your shoe's great. Where do you get that? The question is, when he built your shoes, is what time? It was in the morning, in the afternoon, 2 weeks, maybe. After some drinks, he started having some things, I'm going to give you an example. Who is the guy who said everybody should start to work at 9? You guys know his name? I'm going to tell you. Have one guy, have this guy here, Mr. Smith, doing that in the Middle Ages. Then came the Industrial Revolution. And on the Industrial Revolution, they said, no, we need to deliver shoes to everybody, whatever the quality it is. So we're going to do the following. You is going to do one part of the shoe. You're going to do the second part of the shoe. You're going to do the third part of the shoe. And you're going to pack the shoe. What happens if one of you get late to this industrial line? Nothing happens, right? So everybody should start at 9. Everybody should get out at 12. Everybody should come back at 1. Everybody should get out at 5. That's why you go to school at 7. Because in the Industrial Revolution set the timing, And what happens if I pick up Mr. Smith and put Mr. Smith here on this part? Is he going to perform more or less than this girl? He's a genius. The same thing. You know what? No, he's going to perform less because he's going to have some ideas. And ideas on the industrial line is bad. That's how the business side was built. All the universities was built on top of that, was built to create this, to manage that kind of thing. And you know what happened when you get people that are not so smart, and then you need to focus, and you need to put them inside the box? You need supervision. Look, This guy. Look, this guy. And then you create layers and layers and layers of supervision, And that's inefficient, completely inefficient. And that brings to us, like agility, no agility at all. And you know what happened? And then come to the company and say, hey, you think outside the box, that's good. Which company here likes people who think outside the box? So the companies who like that, we have a problem. Because it means that you are inside the box. You should not have the box. If you have the box, you need people to think outside the box. If you don't have the box, only people who work are going to appear. Freedom of responsibility, lack of layers, So that's the kind of thing. So everything that you learn during the university and in schools is on the green part. When you go to the blue part, is when you start to work. And what happened? What you learn start to decrease, right? And then you need to get that knowledge back. You do a master degree, PhD, whatever, and then you get, the red one. And then you go to work, and you have, the yellow one, right? This graphic is right or wrong? It's not how it happens, but that's too industrial, completely industrial. Digital is completely different. You know how digital it is? Everything that you learn is not going to work. Forget it. You need to learn everything again. And then, so you need to learn more on the red part than you had on the green part. And the new knowledge, to get this kind of new knowledge, this level of new knowledge, you need to do a lot of mistakes. Only making mistakes, you're going to find that, So that's the thing. And then, artificial intelligence on fintech. And then, you get like JP Morgan, that built a robot that used like 360,000 hours of lawyers, the robot done, And then you came robot advising, 2.2 trillion US. And then you started having that. And then everything that we learn is for one kind of internet, which is the Internet of Information. But it's coming a new internet here, the Internet of Value. With blockchain, it's going to change everything. And when you see the things here, everybody here is aware of ICOs. It's already a $100 billion market. You have like an ICO happening, the guy getting like 55 million in 15 minutes. That's happening every day, under our noses. And then to finalize, if everybody have the opportunity to go to Facebook, that's how the interest of Facebook is. They just took the sun, part and took, reverse. And Zuckerberg, said that the sun logo is to remind employees to stay motivated. Look what happens when you are on top, but you fail to innovate. So, that's it. Thank you.